The crystal glass shattered against the mahogany table. Min-June Park stood at the head of the boardroom, surrounded by 17 men who controlled Seoul's underworld, and calmly brushed the glass shards from his Armani sleeve. His father's face had turned the color of expensive wine left too long in the sun. His brother Jae-sung wore a smile sharp enough to gut a man, which, knowing Jae-sung, he'd probably done before breakfast. "You have 24 hours, his father said, voice like gravel being chewed by a garbage disposal. "And that black woman you've been hiding like a shameful secret, she goes, permanently. No contact, no trace, as if she never existed." 17 men held their breath. Min-June didn't need 24 hours. He didn't need 24 minutes. He didn't even need 24 seconds to know that his father didn't understand, that Amanda Williams, the woman who'd walked into his club 9 months ago and treated him like he was just a man instead of a monster, was worth more than every blood-soaked dollar his family had ever made. His answer came swift as a knife between ribs. "I choose her." The room exploded. Advisors shouted. His brother lunged forward. His father's crystal paperweight, the one that had sat on that desk for 40 years, went flying past Min-June's head. But Min-June just stood there, perfectly still, watching his former life implode like a building wired for demolition. And for the first time since he was 7 years old and his father had slapped him for crying at his grandfather's funeral, Min-June smiled. Not the cold smile they'd taught him, not the predator's grin he used in negotiations. A real smile. Because he was finally free. His father's roar followed him to the elevator. "You walk out that door, you're dead to me." Min-June pressed the button for the ground floor and pulled out his phone. One text to Amanda, 4 words that would change everything. "Pack light, we're running." 3 words had set Seoul's underworld on fire. Now came the fun part, surviving the inferno. The elevator descended 43 floors, and Min-June counted every single one. 43 floors to remember why he'd just committed professional suicide. 43 floors to recall the exact moment Amanda Williams had ruined him for this life forever. It was the nightmare that did it. 3 months into whatever they were calling their secret arrangement, dating felt too pedestrian for the heir to a crime syndicate. He'd woken up in her bed screaming, his hands around her throat before his eyes even opened. Muscle memory from too many kills, too many years of his father's training turning him into a loaded weapon with a hair trigger. Most women would have run, should have run. Hell, he'd killed a man for less than what he'd almost done to her in those 5 seconds of blind panic. Amanda had just held him. Didn't ask questions, didn't demand explanations, just wrapped her arms around a monster having a breakdown and hummed something that sounded like a lullaby until his hands stopped shaking. "You're safe," she'd whispered. "Whatever you dreamed, it's over. You're safe." He'd laughed at that. Him, safe, the man who made other men need security details. But in her arms, for the first time since his father had beaten kindness out of him at age 7, he almost believed it. The elevator doors opened to chaos. Word had already spread. His phone was a Jackson Pollock painting of notifications, threats, bribes, pleas. His father's people were probably scrambling to freeze his accounts. Good luck with that. Min-June had been moving money into ghost accounts since he was 17 and realized his father saw him as property, not a son. The parking garage echoed with his footsteps. His Mercedes sat exactly where he'd left it 2 hours ago, back when he was still the heir to everything. Now he was just a man driving to a woman who had no idea she'd just become the most expensive choice in Seoul's criminal history. He thought about their first meeting. She'd walked into his club, where everyone knew to bow and scrape, looked at his VIP table and said, "Your whiskey selection is uninspired." Not Mr. Park or Sir or the terrified stammering he usually got. Just a woman critiquing his liquor cabinet like he was a bartender, not a king. He'd been obsessed from that moment. The engine roared to life. Behind him, he heard shouting. Security, probably. His brother's men, definitely. They'd be coming for him, for her. Jae-sung wouldn't waste this opportunity to eliminate his competition permanently. Min-jun's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He knew that number. His father's burn phone, the one reserved for kill orders. He powered it off, pulled out the SIM card, and tossed both out the window. 20 minutes to Amanda's apartment in Itaewon. 20 minutes to tell the woman he loved that his family would probably try to murder them both before sunrise. 20 minutes to pack a life into whatever bags they could carry. The city lights blurred past. Seoul had been his kingdom. Now it was his hunting ground, and he was the prey. His hands were steady on the wheel. No regrets, no second thoughts. Just Amanda's voice in his head. "You're safe." Time to make sure she stayed that way. Amanda opened the door before he knocked. She was wearing his shirt, the white one he'd left there 2 weeks ago, and her eyes held that specific brand of worry that came from dating a man whose job description included organized crime. "You said you'd be here at 10. It's 2 in the morning. She stepped aside to let him in. "Min-jun, what?" "I need to tell you something." 4 words. That's all it took for her face to shift from worried girlfriend to woman bracing for impact. She'd always been too perceptive for her own good. One of the things he loved about her. One of the things that was probably going to get her killed. He told her about the ultimatum. Every word. The marriage alliance. The Hong family. His father's condition about making her disappear. He watched her face cycle through shock, horror, and then something that looked uncomfortably like guilt, though he couldn't imagine why she'd feel guilty about his family being monsters. "You came to say goodbye." Her voice went flat, protective, already building walls. "No." He caught her face in his hands before she could retreat. "I came to tell you I chose you." The walls crumbled. "What?" "I chose you, Amanda, without hesitation. They can keep their empire." She pulled back, shaking her head like he'd just told her the earth was flat. "Min-jun, no, you can't. That's your family, your legacy, everything your grandfather built." "Everything my grandfather built on blood and bodies." His laugh was sharp enough to cut. "You think I want that? You think I want to spend the rest of my life as my father's trained attack dog? But you're my life." The words came out rough. He'd never said them before, never let himself. "The only good thing in 32 years of existence, and you think I'm going to let them take you away because of business?" Her eyes were shining now. "You're insane." "Probably," he kissed her forehead. "But I'm your brand of insane, so—" His phone lit up on the counter. 47 missed calls, 17 voicemails, 3 text messages, each one more creative in its threats than the last. Amanda moved to the window, peeked through the curtains. Her whole body went rigid. There's a black SUV outside, tinted windows. It wasn't there an hour ago. They're watching. Min-jun was already calculating exit strategies. Back stairwell, roof access, her neighbor's balcony that connected to the next building. "We need to leave, now." "Leave, Min-jun? This is my home." "Your home just became a crime scene waiting to happen." He was pulling her toward the bedroom. "Pack light, clothes, documents, cash if you have it. Nothing they can track." She stood frozen for a moment, the reality finally hitting. This wasn't a fight they could talk their way out of. This wasn't a problem that disappeared with morning light. "How long do we have?" "Until my brother gets impatient. Could be an hour, could be 10 minutes. That got her moving. She yanked a duffel bag from her closet, started throwing in clothes with the efficiency of someone who'd done this before. Interesting. Most people panicked. Most people asked stupid questions. Amanda just packed. She paused, holding a photograph, her with a younger girl, both laughing at some beach Min-jun didn't recognize. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Min-jun, there's something I need to tell you. A car door slammed outside. Voices, Korean, speaking in the clipped tones of men on a job. Later, he grabbed the bag, grabbed her hand. Right now, we run. The photograph slipped from her fingers, landing face up on the floor. Her secret would have to wait. The safe house was in Yongsan, tucked above a noisy PC bong where gamers screamed at screens until dawn. Perfect cover. Min-jun had bought it 5 years ago under a shell corporation his father's accountants would never find, back when he'd first started planning his escape from the family business. He just hadn't expected to need it quite this dramatically. Morning light filtered through cheap curtains. Amanda stood at the kitchenette making coffee in one of his old t-shirts, hair piled on top of her head, looking so aggressively normal that Min-jun's chest ached. This could have been their life, should have been their life. Just morning coffee and quiet moments instead of running from trained killers. Do you regret it? She didn't turn around, but her shoulders were tense. Never. She brought him the coffee, settled beside him on the worn couch. Not even a little? Min-jun, you gave up. The door exploded inward. 3 men, professional. His brother's crew, which meant competent but predictable. They'd trained at the same facility Min-jun had, used the same instructors, learned the same techniques, which meant Min-jun knew exactly how they'd move before they did. The first one died with a kitchen knife through his throat. The second got his neck snapped against the doorframe. The third managed to get his gun up before Min-jun broke his wrist, took the weapon, and put 2 bullets in his chest at point-blank range. 7 seconds, start to finish. Amanda hadn't moved from the couch, just sat there, coffee cup frozen halfway to her lips, watching the man she loved turn into something from a nightmare. Min-jun had killed efficiently, brutally, without hesitation or mercy. No wasted movement, no emotion, just pure mechanical violence. The kind his father had spent 17 years beating into him. He stood there in the sudden silence, breathing hard, covered in blood that wasn't his. 3 bodies cooling on the floor. The apartment smelled like copper and gunpowder, and everything he'd tried to protect her from. I'm sorry you had to see that. Amanda set down the coffee cup with steady hands, stood, walked over broken glass and pooling blood to stand in front of him. I knew who you were. I chose you too. She said it like a vow, like a confession, like she'd been waiting to say it for months. What she didn't say, she'd known exactly who he was from the moment she'd walked into his club, had known about the kills, the operations, every blood-soaked detail of his resume, had chosen him anyway, which made her either the bravest woman in Seoul or the most damaged. Min-jun crouched by the first body, checked his phone. 1 message, sent 20 minutes ago. Make it look like a robbery. Kill them both. No witnesses. Jae-sung, his brother. His brother wasn't trying to scare them into compliance, wasn't trying to drag Min-jun home. He was trying to eliminate the competition permanently, wrap it up in a neat little home invasion narrative the police would never question. This wasn't disownment, this was execution. We can't stay in Seoul. Min-jun was already moving, grabbing their bags, wiping down surfaces. My brother knows this city better than his own reflection. Every safe house I have, every contact, every bolt hole, he'll find them. Where do we go? Far. He caught her hand, pulled her toward the door, stepping over the bodies like they were furniture. And we go now. 3 weeks felt like 3 years when every shadow wanted you dead. They'd burned through 5 safe houses, 8 fake IDs, and more cash than most people earned in a decade. Min-jun worked his contacts like a maestro, a favor here, a threat there, calling in debts from men who'd rather cut off their own hands than cross the Park family, but owed Min-jun personally. Amanda watched him operate with the cold efficiency of a surgeon, negotiating with arms dealers and forgers and men whose eyes held more bodies than a cemetery. She'd been investigating this world for 2 years, studying it, documenting it. Watching Min-jun live it was something else entirely. Tuesday night found them in a closet-sized apartment in Mule-dong, surrounded by the industrial groaning of metalwork shops. Chinese takeout cooling between them, the closest thing to a date they'd managed since his life imploded. "Tell me about your childhood," Amanda said, chasing noodles with chopsticks she still couldn't hold properly. Min-jun's laugh was dark. "My father started my training at 7. Real training, not the taekwondo lessons rich kids get. He'd wake me up at 4 a.m., make me run until I vomited, then run some more. Said empathy was a disease that needed to be purged. He took a long drink of soju. By 12, I could break a man's arm in 3 places. By 15, I didn't even flinch when my father executed someone in front of me. He taught me love was weakness, and weakness got you killed." "Then why choose me?" Her eyes met his, and God, the intensity there could have melted steel. "Because you made me weak, and for the first time in my life, weak felt like strength." Amanda's throat tightened. Every beautiful word he spoke was another knife in her gut. He was opening up, being vulnerable, trusting her completely. And she was lying about everything that mattered. She almost told him, right there, almost said, "My name isn't really Amanda Williams, and I came to Seoul specifically to investigate your family, and we need supplies. I'll be quick," Min-jun said, killing the moment. The convenience store was 3 blocks away. Min-jun spotted the tail halfway there, too clean cut for the neighborhood, hands in pockets wrong, eyes tracking them with professional focus. "Run!" They scattered into Seoul's maze of alleys, footsteps behind them, gaining. Min-jun yanked her through a restaurant kitchen, ignoring the chef's shouts, out a back door into a construction site. Amanda's lungs burned, her ankle twisted on debris. Min-jun caught her, kept them moving. A gunshot cracked. The concrete beside Min-jun's head exploded. They dove behind a dumpster. Min-jun's shoulder was bleeding. Just grazed, but blood was blood. Amanda's hands shook as she tore off her sleeve to press against the wound. Back at the apartment, she cleaned him up with steady hands that belied her racing heart. "I can't lose you," she whispered. "You won't." He caught her wrist, pulled her close. "I promise." Her phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. The text message stopped her heart. "Your sister says hello." 3 words. That's all it took for her entire world to fracture. Min-jun was watching her face. "Amanda, what's wrong?" She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't tell him that the sister she'd claimed didn't exist was now being held hostage because of lies Amanda had told from the very beginning. "Nothing. Just spam," she managed. Another lie, another knife in her own gut. The phone buzzed again, this time a photo. Maya, her baby sister, tied to a chair, terrified. Amanda's blood ran cold. Amanda couldn't stop staring at her phone. Min-jun watched her from across the room, that predator's stillness he wore when calculating threats. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." The lie tasted like ash. Min-jun. The windows exploded inward. 8 men this time. Coordinated, professional. They came through windows, doors, the goddamn walls like they'd been studying the building's blueprint for weeks. Min-jun moved like liquid death, dropping 2 before Amanda could process what was happening. Then instinct took over. The instinct she'd spent 2 years pretending she didn't have. She disarmed the man closest to her with a move straight out of Quantico's playbook: sweep the leg, control the wrist, redirect the momentum. His gun clattered away. She caught it mid-fall, put 2 rounds in another attacker's center mass, shifted aim, dropped the third. Military precision, FBI training, muscle memory from hundreds of hours on the range. Min-jun saw it all. Even while fighting for their lives, she felt his attention shift, reassess, calculate. They fought back to back until the apartment ran out of attackers. Then they ran again, always running, until they collapsed in an abandoned building that smelled like piss and desperation. Min-jun's eyes were ice. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" "Self-defense classes." "Don't lie to me, Amanda." His voice could cut glass. "That wasn't self-defense. That was tactical training, military, maybe law enforcement." "Min-jun, we don't have time." "Make time." Movement outside saved her from answering. One of the attackers had followed them, bleeding, desperate. Min-jun grabbed him before Amanda could blink. What happened next made the apartment killings look merciful. Min-jun tied the man to a rusted pipe and went to work with the cold efficiency of someone who'd done this before, often. Amanda watched, horrified but not surprised, because she'd read his file, knew exactly what he was capable of, had watched surveillance footage of him doing worse. The man broke in 6 minutes. "Your father knows about the woman's sister. He knows everything," he gasped through broken teeth. Min-jun went very still. "What sister?" The silence stretched like a noose. Amanda's voice came out small. "My sister, Maya. She's here, in Seoul. I've been hiding her." "You have a sister?" Min-jun said it like he was testing the words in a foreign language. "In Seoul, and you didn't tell me. I was protecting her from your world." His laugh was jagged. "From my world? Amanda, you're in my world now, because of me, because I chose you over everything, and you've been lying about having a sister this entire time?" "I was going to tell you." "When?" He was on his feet now, pacing like a caged animal. "When were you going to tell me? Before or after I burned my entire life down for you? Before or after my family started hunting us? When exactly was the right moment to mention you've been hiding a whole human being?" "She's 19. She's been through hell. You couldn't trust me." The hurt in his voice cut deeper than any blade. "After everything, after I gave you everything, you couldn't trust me with the truth?" "Min-jun, what else are you lying about?" "Everything," her conscience screamed. "Your uncle's trafficking ring, the FBI, my real name, why I came to Seoul, why I got close to you in the first place." "Nothing," she whispered. He stared at her for a long moment, then pulled out his phone. "What are you doing?" Min-jun's voice was cold as he dialed. "Calling in a favor, someone who can dig deep." A pause. "I need to know everything about Amanda Williams, everything, every record, every alias, every piece of her life before Seoul." His eyes never left hers. "I need to know who I actually gave up my life for." The file arrived at dawn, delivered by a man Min-jun trusted more than his own blood. 37 pages that demolished everything he thought he knew. FBI credentials, witness protection documentation, court transcripts from the trial that had taken down his uncle's trafficking operation 3 years ago, and photos, so many photos of Maya Williams, Special Agent, FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit. Younger, sharper, wearing a badge and a gun, and a face he'd kissed 1,000 times. Park Sung-ho, his uncle, the man his father had executed for bringing shame to the family. The trafficking ring that had been dealt with internally. Amanda had destroyed it, testified, put 12 men in prison and gotten his uncle killed. And then she'd come to Seoul, to him. His hands shook, holding the papers. His world didn't just collapse, it evaporated like it had never existed at all. She found him on the roof, the files scattered at his feet like radioactive fallout. Min-jun. Who are you? His voice was someone else's, empty, dead. Amanda, Maya, whoever she was, broke like glass. My name is Maya Williams. I was FBI. My sister was trafficked by your uncle's operation when she was 15. I testified to bring them down. Then I came to Seoul to finish the investigation because the network wasn't fully dismantled. And me? Getting close to you was strategic at first. Tears tracked down her face. You were my way into information I couldn't access any other way. Everything was a lie. Not my love for you. His laugh was a brutal, broken thing. How can I believe anything you say? Your name is a lie. Your job is a lie. Your entire reason for being here is a lie. Why should your love be any different? Because I wanted to tell you every single day, but I was scared. Scared? The word came out like a roar. You were scared? I gave up everything for you. My family, my future, my name. I made myself a target for every enemy I've ever made, and you were using me to build a case? I was using you, she was shouting now too. At first, yes, but then I fell in love with you, the real you, not the heir or the weapon or the killer, the man who has nightmares about the people he's hurt, who watches terrible action movies and laughs at the wrong parts, who can't cook rice without burning it. That man. I love that man. That man doesn't exist. Min-jun was backing away like she was poison. He was someone I pretended to be for you, a fantasy, and you weren't even real. Min-jun, please. Did you laugh when I chose you in that boardroom, when I walked away from everything? Did you think it was funny that the mob boss fell for the undercover Fed? I cried. Her voice broke completely. I locked myself in the bathroom and cried because you were choosing me, and I didn't deserve it. You're right, you didn't. He walked past her, grabbed the car keys, didn't look back even when she called his name, voice raw with desperation. The car started. Seoul spread out before him, a city that used to be his kingdom and was now just a maze with no exit. Behind him, on that roof, Amanda collapsed, alone, destroyed, knowing she'd lost the only person who'd ever made her feel human. Min-jun drove with no destination, just movement, because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant feeling, and feeling meant acknowledging that everything he'd sacrificed had been for a woman who never existed. They were both broken now. He'd chosen her twice. He wouldn't choose her again. The bar in Hongdae was exactly the kind of dive Min-jun needed. Dark, anonymous, and serving whiskey that tasted like regret. He was on his 4th drink when the college kids at the next table started getting loud. 6th drink when one of them shoved another. 8th drink when someone threw the first punch. Min-jun's knuckles were bleeding, his ribs hurt, and he felt absolutely nothing. Violence as release. His father had taught him that too. He ended up at the Han River as dawn broke, staring at water that looked like hammered steel. Maybe his father was right. Maybe love was weakness. Maybe the only honest thing in this world was power, and he'd been a fool to think a woman's touch could wash the blood off his hands. His phone rang. He almost threw it in the river. What Dae-hyun? His old mentor, the man who'd trained him before his father's brutality took over. Your brother has the girl. Not my problem anymore. Amanda's sister, 19 years old. Jae-sung is going to kill her unless Amanda trades herself tomorrow. Min-jun's grip tightened on the phone. Why are you telling me this? Because you chose her. That doesn't end because she lied to you. Daehyun's voice was gentle, which somehow made it worse. You chose her knowing you'd both have to survive this world. She's surviving the only way she knows how, just like you did. The line went dead. Min-jun stared at the water for a long time. Across the city, Amanda sat in the abandoned warehouse where Min-jun had left her, phone clutched in shaking hands. Maya's text had come an hour ago. "Where are you? I'm scared." She'd called 17 times. No answer. Then the video message loaded, and Amanda's world ended all over again. Maya, her baby sister, tied to a chair in what looked like a storage facility, bruised, terrified, and behind her, Jae-sung's smile was a knife. "You want your sister back, Agent Williams?" His voice through the phone speaker made her skin crawl. "Come alone, tomorrow, noon. The address will follow. Or I send her back to you in pieces." The video ended. Amanda couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This was her fault, all of it. Maya had come to Seoul because Amanda promised she'd be safe, promised the trafficking nightmares were over. She'd lied to Maya, too. The warehouse door opened. Amanda's hand went to the gun she'd taken from one of yesterday's attackers, but she already knew who it was, would always know his footsteps. Min-jun stood in the doorway, backlit by morning sun, looking like he'd fought a war and lost. "I hate that you lied to me. I know. I don't know if I can trust you again. I know. But I'm not letting them kill you or your sister." Amanda's vision blurred. "Min-jun, we're going to that exchange, together, but we're not surrendering." He walked toward her, and God, even destroyed and furious, he was choosing her again. "We're ending this. They'll kill us both. They'll try." His smile was the dangerous one, the heir to an empire one, the man his father created one. "I've got 8 hours to make some calls, pull favors, liquidate assets." He held out his hand. "You ready to burn Seoul down with me?" She took his hand. "I've been ready since the day I met you." Min-jun pulled out his phone, started dialing. Names from his past, men who owed him blood debts, soldiers loyal to him, not his family name. His family wanted war? They were about to learn what happened when you cornered the Park family's best weapon and gave him nothing left to lose. The Park family compound looked like what it was, a fortress pretending to be a house. 20-foot walls, security cameras, men with guns trying to look like gardeners. Jae-sung had turned their childhood home into a war zone. Min-jun approached with Amanda at his side and 6 men at his back. 6 against 40. David versus Goliath, except David was wearing a wire and carrying enough digital evidence to collapse an empire. His father waited in the courtyard, looking older than Min-jun remembered. Disappointed but not surprised, like Min-jun had failed a test he'd been destined to fail since birth. Jae-sung stood beside him, practically vibrating with glee. "You came to die for her? How pathetic." Behind them, the Hong family representatives watched with cold calculation. This wasn't about business anymore. This was about honor, face, the things that mattered more than money in their world. And in the center, tied to a chair like a sacrifice, Maya sobbed quietly. 19 years old and too young for this nightmare. "The offer is simple," his father said. "The girl's life for the woman's. You walk away free. We'll forget this incident. You can still come home, Min-jun. Last chance, final exit, one more opportunity to undo the choice that had destroyed everything." Min-jun smiled. "I already made my choice. I'm just here to clarify the terms." He unbuttoned his shirt collar. The small microphone and transmitter were clearly visible. "Everything said here tonight is streaming live to 3 journalists, 2 prosecutors, and the FBI attaché in Seoul. Every word about the murder contracts, the trafficking connections, the political bribery, all of it. Evidence. His father's face went white. If anyone shoots, if anyone moves, I release 57 gigabytes of financial records, communications, and video footage. Your empire ends tonight. Everyone in this courtyard goes to prison. The silence was absolute. Mexican standoff, 40 guns, nobody breathing. Then his father laughed, a sound like breaking stone. You've become what I always wanted, ruthless enough to threaten everything, strategic enough to checkmate your own family, powerful enough to walk away. I learned from the best. What do you want? Let us walk out, all of us. I bury the evidence, you never see us again, your empire survives. His father stared at him for an eternity. Go, you're dead to this family, but you're alive. Min-jun turned, helped Maya up, kept Amanda close. They were 10 steps from freedom when Jae-sung moved. No! His brother's gun came up, aimed at Amanda, finger on the trigger, jealousy and rage overwhelming any sense of self-preservation. The shot echoed through the courtyard. Jae-sung dropped. Min-jun's father stood there, gun smoking, face carved from granite. My son died when he chose her over blood, but my empire lives. He looked at Min-jun one final time. Get out of my sight. They walked. Min-jun kept his pace steady, controlled, even though his heart was trying to punch through his ribs. Amanda held Maya, who was shaking so hard she could barely stand. His 6 men formed a protective circle until they reached the gate. The car was waiting, engine running, driver loyal to Min-jun, not the family name. As Seoul's lights blurred past the windows, Amanda finally spoke. What now? Min-jun took her hand, squeezed. We disappear. We start over. We live. That simple? That simple. He looked at Maya in the rearview mirror, traumatized but alive. Then at Amanda, damaged but free. No more lies, no more running. Just life. Just life, Amanda repeated, like testing the words. Behind them, the Park Empire still stood. Ahead of them, the road stretched into uncertain freedom. Min-jun chose forward. Always forward. 6 months later, Min-jun woke to sunlight instead of nightmares. The apartment in Busan was small, laughably small, compared to his penthouse in Seoul, but the morning light hit Amanda's face just right, and Maya was singing off-key in the next room, getting ready for her psychology class at the local university. Normal sounds, human sounds, the kind his old life had never made space for. Min-jun taught self-defense 3 days a week at the community center, showing teenagers how to break holds and escape danger. Amanda ran a trauma counseling practice out of a cramped office above a coffee shop, helping people survive the things that had nearly destroyed her. Maya was healing slowly, learning that the world could be safe again. They weren't rich, weren't powerful, but they were free. Over breakfast, eggs that Min-jun had learned to cook without burning, miracle of miracles, Amanda asked the question that had been hovering between them for months. Do you miss it? The power? The empire? Min-jun considered, chopsticks paused mid-air. Sometimes I miss the certainty of it, knowing exactly who I was supposed to be, where I fit. And now? Now I have to figure out who I want to be. It's terrifying. But, he smiled, the real one she'd earned. But I'm doing it with you, so it's worth it. They'd talked about the lies plenty over the past 6 months, the betrayal, the deception, all the ways they'd broken each other before learning to heal. I forgive you, Min-jun had said, one night holding her while she cried. Not because what you did was okay, but because I understand why you did it. You were surviving the only way you knew how. And I forgive you, she'd whispered back, for the violence, for the blood on your hands, because I understand you were surviving too. They were both broken people trying to piece themselves back together. That was the real story. Not the romance, not the drama. Just two damaged souls learning that healing was possible. The letter came on a Tuesday. No return address. Expensive paper. Inside, 7 words. You're not forgotten. The Parks. Minjun burned it in the kitchen sink without showing Amanda. Some threats never fully disappeared, but they didn't have to win either. That evening, they walked to the beach, all 3 of them. Maya collected shells, still young enough to find joy in small things. Amanda's hand fit perfectly in Minjun's, like it had been designed for exactly that purpose. "Do you think we'll ever be safe?" Maya asked, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of blood and gold. Minjun considered the question carefully. "Safe? No. There are people in Seoul who'll never forget my name. But free? Yes, and that's better." They walked until the sun disappeared and the stars came out, 3 figures on a beach who were no longer running, just living, just breathing, just existing in the space between what they'd been and who they were becoming. The Park family empire still stood in Seoul, a monument to power and blood. But here, on this quiet beach, Minjun Park had built something his father never could, a life worth living. Not because it was safe, not because it was easy, but because for the first time it was his choice. And he chose love. Some would call that weakness. He called it freedom. Dear listener, this creator really appreciates your support and loves you so much. Drop a comment telling me, what was your favorite moment from this story? Was it the boardroom choice, the rooftop betrayal, the final showdown at the compound, or maybe that quiet beach ending? And where are you listening from? I love knowing this story traveled the world, from Seoul to your city, wherever you are. Your support means everything. Now go, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next story.